So it's Tuesday. I just finished up the corner of that so it connects. So that makes that continuous line there. Chicky's eating a little bit of scratch. And then just did the drainage for up here, if you can see. So basically backfilled up behind this with stone and mortar. And then basically just got it all slanted. Mostly we'll see when it actually rains if I need to add more, but so it'll drain out to here. And yep, that kind of is a decent idea of what it'll end up looking like in this area. So it'll be kind of tub-like. I'll probably add some more around the edges to reinforce like that, and then the water will end up coming through here. Just got to be aware of ice concerns, as that will be the main weakness of this. So that's all for now. Put that piece of plywood up today. I've been working on the platform, which is almost done, and kind of figuring out how to do a side wall to separate the sleeping area from the underneath area. And got some electricity in here, and yeah, that's about it for now. You can see the fire truck from here. Alright, see ya. It is Wednesday morning, and the task for today is to mortar up these stairs. So you can see how there's nails along the inside and outside rim of the tires. That's essentially called porcupining in our ship lingo. And then there's some nails in there. So the nails, once bonded with the mortar, give the rock teeth that grip the tire, as opposed to them just being up against each other. So I'm going to do the mortar now. And there is, with 2 batches, basically 1 bag of mortar. Didn't get full coverage on the sides, but there is enough there to let it dry. I think I gotta go do a supply run and get more mortar, but first I gotta engage with the Bitcoin Cash community. That's all. Got it resupplied. Hopefully that's enough mortar for finishing the gate tower inside. And the plywood should be able to finish the around the bed in there. Spot's out and about with the chickies like usual. That's all. So it's Thursday morning. Got a second coat on this, so you can see what it really looks like in here. And that should probably be a final coat. Starting to get around these tires with mortar too. Yesterday was a pretty unproductive day, a lot of rain. But today we got a second coat on these stairs here. So once that dries, we should be able to walk on them. And then what I'm going to focus on next is getting all this covered. And then this wall here, which is pretty rugged, needs to get like a finish coat. So a lot of the work I'm going to be doing, it's going to be a lot of mortar, but it's not going to be too visible basically. Well, it's just like doing these finishes, so won't be a whole lot to share, but that's the next step. So it's not that easy to see, but I actually got a coat, so you can see where it's gray, lighter gray. I didn't get a coat there, but basically on the whole wall, all the way around, except for a hole here, and then this whole wall as well. I got a whole coat on all of it, which was a lot of mortar. I think it was like 14 batches or something like that, but I was working all day on this, and it's much closer to being done now. But that was the day today. Saturday morning, did this yesterday, and just had the lath wasn't totally even, so I mortared down. There's stone on the left and lath on the right because there's a bit of elevation difference, so it's evening it out so it'll drain off properly. And just the areas of the lath that were low, because the lath isn't totally even, and so I had those weighing it down. That's why it looks the way it looks. And now I can weigh down the areas that are high and do another coat, and then in a third coat it'll all get finished just a little by little. And then down here, these stairs should be ready to walk on. This will be the first walk on the stairs. Okay, nothing cracked as I can see so far. Yeah, looks good. So it's basically just 2 coats. But what I'm gonna do now is I've found all these tiles, which are actually from my dad from, I guess, over 30 years ago. And they were just like in a garage at my grandma's house. My dad never used them, so they were leftovers from him. And I'm going to use those as stairs. And some of these stairs, as you can see, are pretty narrow, like this one. So I'm going to try to be able to get the tile there, and it'll make the stair a little bit wider. And it'll reduce the risk of, the weakest part of this tire is right at the edge. Or really right where the bulge of the rubber of the tire is, because that's where it has the least support, and that also happens to be where people are most likely to walk. And so I'm gonna the tiles will reinforce that as long as I can lay them out somewhat level. But I'll check back in after I do that. So here's how the staircase turned out. It's not finished, especially the middle 2 steps. That one's got a piece of plywood holding it in place, which hopefully I'll be able to take out and then replace with mortar. And the middle 2 steps where it overhangs a bit, I'll probably have to use a bit of lath to reinforce the corners. But overall, assuming I can get those in solid, those 2 middle steps get a lot more stepping room, and it is a very steep staircase. But with the flat surfaces like that, it'll make it a lot less likely that someone would fall going down. And pretty happy with the results, and go on to the next project. This is how I protect this step from the chickens as this mortar is curing. Got most of it covered. It'll take about a day before I can take this off and it can accept chicken walkers. So I finished reinforcing the platform, which that right there is the top of the reservoir. And so now I'm continuing by building the box around the bed. It's not totally straight because the roof isn't totally straight. I just kind of freeformed the arc in the first place. But it's straight down the edge, so I'll probably mortar that top line in, or maybe I'll just leave it like that. But if I mortar it, it'll get a lot more sturdy. But I'm about to put that down and keep working on this box around this platform here. So once it's all cleaned out, it's got a decent amount of room up here, and I haven't quite figured out what to do. Well, obviously you have to build some sort of stairs there. And I'm not quite sure about if I should add a wall on the right or just leave it open. Or maybe just a short wall so things don't fall off the edge much. But what I gotta do now is this front area. So this is still open to the gravel there and to the water tank, water reservoir. So I got a box off the water reservoir so it's not getting any direct light. And then, so this will be the water feature out there. This is the drawbridge. That's the entryway, and the window's dirty, but that window there is to the kitchen. So there's a lot of, this is south facing, and this gets a lot of light. So this little nook here is going to be a good place for plants, or yeah, probably like plants. And this window here only has a single pane because it broke. The window's recycled, the mattress is recycled, the rug's recycled, everything, just about everything's recycled. So I've got to figure out a way with this thing here to have the condensation that will inevitably come from the window be dealt with, and while also boxing this off. So it's going to entail a drain and some mortar, and that's what is my next problem to solve. Oh, I've got some bad news. Some good news and some bad news. The bad news is there was an attack last night. Right in this side here. Hey, Dino, cut it out! Hey! Quit it! Darn rooster's chasing Spot around. Man, she's getting it hard. Last night there was an attack. Most likely a raccoon. They pried a hole open between the wood and the chicken wire there. Dino, be quiet. Get out of here. Look, there's little chicken checks. I couldn't keep them all off the drying mortar. Go away, rooster. Shoo, be quiet. So, somewhere between like 1 and 3 this morning, this rooster is a pain in my butt, I tell you what. Keeps pestering the girl, he pesters me when I sleep. I don't know how many times I'm just on the verge of killing him. Like, he's already procreated. He's got all these chicks. Anyways, to the story. Somewhere between 1 and 3 in the morning, I hear Spot go off making noise. And I've had this happen before, so I've been trained. I've been trained as rapid response emergency services. So there's the window there next to the bedroom. So instantly I spring to action and get up and dive through the window, out of the bed, and start making a bunch of noise as I run over here in the dark and save the chickens. And meanwhile, Lewis, who's also trained as a protector, gets his own way out of the house, pushes the door open, pushes the other door open, and he reinforces me, and he flanks around the left, and I come this way, and the predator was driven off. And luckily, the good news is he didn't kill any chickies. The mama was so brave. She attacked it was probably a raccoon. She attacked it, and then between her and me and Lewis, we drove it off, and all is well except for this annoying rooster. And I got, my foot is all busted up on some rocks, and it's got a big blister and some not deep, but shallow cuts, some rocks in it, and a finger jammed. But other than that, it's all minor scrapes and bruises. The chickies are all okay. Alright, so got these metal pieces cut, which will be the reinforcement under these 2 stairs. The top and the bottom and the top don't need one. But before I can apply this metal or start to anchor it in, I have to get more mortar up underneath these tiles. so that, because once it's there I won't be able to get it in. So I'm gonna do a little tiny batch of mortar, get mortar in there, and then mortar and then anchor, get these metal pieces placed, and then just a little bit of mortar to anchor them in place. That hole, which goes through, I don't know, like 2.5 inches of stuff, is a great example of how important it is to have the right tool for the job. If I had the right diameter hole saw, which I kind of had, but I didn't have the tap drill bit thing like this middle bit, which connects to the outer bit. It's a different size for the bigger one, and so moral of the story is get the right tool for the job, because it was a pain in the ass and I had to use all of these tools in order to make that one hole. But now I got this thing through, which it's got a metal end, it's got an elbow, it's clamped, and if you can see that, it comes out with the pipe. So I can mortar this in and then slope the drain to that, so that the condensation water will go out the drain, and then this pipe will it'll drip down to the gravel there, which will be acceptable in comparison to it being in here. So that was a frustrating task. Took a lot more energy than it needed to, but it is complete. And so the next step is to box this area in, and then well, also there's a big gap underneath. I gotta foam that in place, box it in, and then mortar. Good morning, Monday morning. So you can see here, I got this boxed in at an angle, so any plants in there will have a little more canopy space. And now I'm going to start mortar prep. And also, here's a peek of what these two reinforcing pieces of lath look like after they've been anchored in. So they've just got enough mortar to basically keep them in place, and they were kept in place here with like a box of screws and a rock, which the rock is still like, you can see how that pushes out a little bit, so I'll use the rock to just push that in, to push the lath just a little bit closer to that wall so it gets a bit tighter as I do the next batch. But this will probably take like 3 or 4 applications to fill it all up. But you can see how the lath is just bent to support the corners of those tiles. Here's a bit of chicken problem solving. Those 4 got separated. They went the wrong way. Oh, the first one figured it out. I was going back for the other 3. Woo! No, she came through the window. Surprise. Come on, baby. Follow Mama. Hurry up. What are you doing? Oh, you gotta go this way, chickies. From there to there. Come on, you can do it. Woo! 1, 2. Don't go the wrong way, girl. Woo! Went the other way. Figured it out. So this has got its lath already, so that it doesn't crack, because it's going to be very thin. And I'm going to apply their mortar now. The important thing is to make sure that I really work the mortar into the lath so that it bonds underneath of it. Oftentimes if I did something like this, I would do a little bit of mortar first and then put the lath on and then do mortar. But if the lath isn't totally tight to the bottom and the mortar is wet enough and you work it in, the mortar can still bond on the other side of the lath as well. So time to mix mortar. Okay, so there's 1 coat of mortar. I think I'll be able to finish this with 2 coats of mortar. And this will get a good base. And the next one will help to slope it all to the drain. It is Monday evening, and I cleaned up a lot of this platform. Got an idea somewhat of a shape for a counter here based off of the leftover plywood from the other cuts. Bed is partially boxed in and mostly cleaned out. There's one coat of mortar on the far side. And that area is getting a lot closer to being finished. Hung a cabinet over here, which is helping keep everything clean. And the stairs are walkable. And they basically just need one or two more coats on the lath to fill in these corners. This one's closer. This one has got a ways to go. Might take 2 coats on that one. This one might be done in 1 more. And this cabinet here is helping to organize the space, and maybe by the end of the next week, this place will be almost. I give it 2 weeks, maybe 2 more weeks, and I bet this place will be livable. That's a bit ambitious, but we'll see. That's all for this week. See you next week.